Spooky, spooky. Blows out just like a real candle. So I went to the Museum Replicas annual clearance sale this past weekend. So I'm going to make two videos. One for each thing I got. Now, oh, look at that. It's a decent looking chape. But what is that? That glossy black windlass scabbard that I'm not very fond of. Well, I say scabbard because I'm used to saying that, but really it's more of a sheath because it has no wood core. It is the windlass way. Anyway, shall we call this a proto-rapier or a side sword? I'm going to call it a side sword because as we take this less than grandiose sheath away from the sword, we will see that, compared to my hand at least, that blade starts, decently wide. It does go to quite a thin, pointy tip. Ow. But it's still fairly wide. I'd say about 3/4 of an inch right here near the tip. I probably should put this in a position where we can see this better. Yes, that's a good idea. You see, look at that. The pommel itself is roughly, from start to finish, looks about 2¼ inches. If you count the cap there, 2½. So that makes the ball itself roughly about almost 2 inches wide. This big chunk of steel. So that's kind of hefty. The handle, though, is actually, if you look at that, it is. Go and focus. It is some kind of skin. Is it shark skin, ray skin? I don't know with production swords what they tend to go with, but it is that sort of thing. You can see it has a seal, which I'll get into a little bit later. So it's not stitched, it's not well glued, but the handle is, if you look at it, kind of round. It's still ovally, but it is fairly round, and so when you have your finger over the quillin, it doesn't really matter that the handle's so round because you're helping to anchor the sword with your finger. But what this does do is it lets you index and feel the edge because the seam roughly lines up with the edge. So it does kind of help out, even though it is kind of ugly. But at a distance, it's not very noticeable. The guard is 12 inches wide and made of thick steel, so it gives good hand and wrist protection. Ta-da! So you can see, that has got a lot of room in there. I can get my whole finger almost outside the ring just on itself. The guard nicely sits in the recess between the thumb and forefinger. I'll start from the guard. So we go 1 foot, 2 foot. Not quite 3 feet, but we got 34 and, a little more than 34.5 inches of blade there. So it is fairly substantial for a single-handed sword. Okay, so you can see that it's balanced just on my finger. You can tell I'm not actually touching it anywhere else, but it's balanced literally right where that first guard is. You can see from this end I'm not cheating. It is free floating in the air. I'll wiggle a little bit because I don't want to drop it, but okay, so we have the side sword or early rapier. This is a piece of 1/4 inch thick, essentially particle. It's stuff you put on your walls. It's kind of like layers of paper in a sense. Not as hard as plywood, but a decent resistance. Especially since this sword I have not put any edge on whatsoever yet. So you can see, no damage to me. However, even a dull sword can cut into harder wood-like substances. So we're going to give this one a little chop and see what happens. As you can see, I've cleared down to here, right? From up here. So let me get my ruler. And with ruler, we will determine that was a cut from an unsharp sword into the particle board of exactly. See, here's the bottom of the cut where my finger is, and put it where my thumb is here. And we will bring it to camera to show 7 inches. Well, not bad for a sword with no edge. Okay, so here we are with the side sword, possibly proto-rapier, depending on what you want to call it. But I wanted to see if there's a catch on my mic. Can you hear that? Nice sword wind. Oh, I also forgot, it has a nice ring to it. That I'm sure you can hear. Now if I put my thumb right about, say, here and try that, not as much. But here, yeah, that's some pretty ringing steel. Okay, so that was part 1 of 2 of the things I got at the Museum Replicas clearance sale this past weekend, this year, 2019. Alright, so I'm going to try to get the second video up maybe tomorrow. I may do one video in between. I had an idea of something to do real quick, but basically, I'm back. I'm feeling better. Hope everyone else is. Don't injure yourselves. Hilson, and good night.